Hello, you are listening to FM Radio by Fanatics Media. This is Kevin, also known as Stonegood.
And this is James, also known as Fortune.
We're here to bring you into the wonderful world of media and nerd culture, trying to have a nice conversation about the community around James's game store Fanatics, and also just have a good time because we don't get to talk as much as we'd like to, James.
Yeah, being separated by several states and a few thousand miles will do that.
So, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a very nice, slow day today, so I just kind of get to sit around and do nothing, watch some people play X-Wing, and just hang out.
That must
How
be
about you?
that must be a little bit more exciting than watching paint dry.
Only a little. It was watching Eric, our teammate, so you know.
Oh. Way to go, Eric. I wasn't meaning to throw shade. I just mean, like, watching X-Wing is rough.
Well, I definitely meant to throw shade. But I used to play X-Wing all the time, so it's not that bad watching it.
That game is definitely a player's a player's paradise versus a onlooker's paradise.
Right, especially if it's if it's a tournament recording or something and you don't really get to hear the players and you just see what's happening on the board, it's kind of hard to watch. But
Yeah.
they're in person, like standing right next to them, it's not so bad.
Right, because you can ask questions and...
Mm-hmm.
I'm recovering from the flu. I've had the flu for the past 2 weeks and its symptoms. I don't know if this is your first time listening to the podcast. This is not normally how I sound. This is a much rougher version of me.
Kevin's usually super upbeat and happy, and now he's all 40-year-old smoker.
Yeah, I just have this rattling cough, so I'm going to do my very best to make sure that doesn't make it into the final cut of this podcast, but if one sneaks in there, I apologize. But it hasn't stopped me from playing games and enjoying some TV shows. Particularly, I've been playing Legends of Runeterra, and that game has consumed my life, and I'm very happy.
Nice. I got it downloaded, and I haven't had a chance to play it. I was going to do it today, but then I decided to just sleep in. But I'm excited to get around to actually playing it, and you've been having a lot of fun with it, I know, so.
Yeah, well, we'll get more into that in the games that you're playing right now segment. Right now, we're in the... Did any special events happen at Fanatics this past week?
Let's see. We had, if I remember my time frame correctly, because everything kind of smashes together, we had our pre-release this last weekend for the new Pokemon set, Sword and Shield. We had board game nights on Tuesday and Friday, like usual. But yeah, I think really the only big event that we've had recently was the new Sword and Shield pre-release.
You had a bunch of players come out to that, right?
Oh yeah, of course. And we've got enough that we're planning on doing a kind of mock pre-release sealed event again later on too.
Oh, cool. You also made some content regarding that event as well, right?
Yeah, so we didn't stream it. We just had the recording area set up and recorded the matches. But I did a recording of myself opening up my kit and building my deck out of it. Which, for those that don't know, the Sword and Shield pre-release, or any pre-release for Pokemon, is you get this box that's called a Build and Battle box. You open it up, it has 4 boosters in it, an evolution line, and a couple of promos for the pre-release that it's from. You build a deck out of that, grab some energy, and then play with that deck, which is super fun. You get to play things that you never do in actual Pokemon, like a Stage 2. But yeah, I got a video of me building my deck for that, and then we got videos of each round as it was going to.
Grab some energy is something that I really need to do through this flu. What energy would be good to counteract sickness? What do you think?
Probably... You gotta go with that grass for its healing properties. Them herbs.
I was thinking fairy.
Yeah?
Because I need a little bit of a wish to get rid of this. Or dark, because it just kill me, right?
here's the bad part for you. Fairies doesn't exist anymore. It's been molded into psychic.
What? Why?
That's what I said too, yeah. Starting with Sword and Shield, there will be no more fairy cards. They're all psychic now.
But Clefable,
is now psychic.
Aromatisse,
Is now psychic.
but Mr. Mime,
Is already psychic.
well, he's just psychic. He's extra
Yeah.
psychic. But wait, that deletes a gameplay mechanic where Fairy is immune to dragon. Was that in the card game?
I'm real bad with resistance and weakness. I forget that it's there 90% of the time.
So in the video games, if you were to attack a fairy with a dragon move, it would be the same as attacking a ground type with an electric move, or a steel type with a poison move. It'd have no effect.
Mm.
That's frustrating, but I can understand. There's no poison type in the game. There's just psychic. So any special events coming to Fanatics next week? There was the Pokemon event this past week. What's coming this upcoming?
I will pull out my calendar real quick and let you know. This upcoming week, the first week of the month, is kind of going to be a slow week. Not a whole lot happening. It's just going to be our regular stuff, Dragon Ball on Sundays, board games on Tuesday and Friday, and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! On Saturday, etc. We do have some new D&D sessions opening up because we do store-ran D&D groups, and those groups have been full pretty much since they opened. So now we're finally getting some more DMs in, and we're going to have something like 12 groups all going throughout the week, and D&D is ridiculously popular right now. It comes down to a couple of factors. One, relatively recently D&D created their new edition, 5th edition, and it was a huge step up from the last one, 4th edition, and it's both more complicated while easier to get into. I know that sounds like completely competing with each other, but if you've been in D&D for a while, you'll understand what I mean. But 5th edition is super simple to get into. You can roll up a character once you know how in 30 minutes and jump straight into a game. There's also a big push just online for D&D. Wizards has been pushing out a lot of content themselves for it. Critical Role is massive and has raised millions of dollars for a TV show because they're so big. And that's definitely helped with some popularity. The amount of people that come in every day and go, hey, I want to try out D&D because I saw it on Critical Role, is mind-numbingly high. But yeah, it's definitely, I think, the biggest reasons D&D is getting pushed right now is just because there's so much advertising and pushing of it from different media groups already,
Right.
that it's just kind of becoming more of a household name.
The series that got me wanting to play is Harmon's Quest on Verve.
Oh, I actually watched the heck out of that a while back. I just marathoned through the entire thing.
Yeah, there's a third series. Did you watch that, or third season?
No, it was just the first two when I watched it.
Okay, third season came out and it's really good. I don't watch anything else Dan Harmon has ever created, and
You don't watch Rick and Morty?
I don't watch Rick and Morty, and I don't watch Community. So I just like Dan Harmon as a guy, and I really enjoy this adventure, especially in the third season. They kill off his main character, but they keep doing this time looping thing, so he has to play both characters at the same time sometimes. So they gave him a new character, and then so his new character has to interact with his old character, and he has to play both sides, and it's really funny. It's excellent. And I really like their dungeon master, Spencer Crittenden, if that's how you say his last name. I really enjoy him and his explanations. There are some DMs that I've heard, and I know he's heavily edited, but I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and when a DM goes into this sprawling explanation, I'm like, move on. I want to
kill stuff.
I just want to move. You're boring me. So in our live play that we're doing, me and my wife's friend and my wife, I actually interrupted her in real life as my character about 3 times, and she's like, you can't do that. You have to stop. That's bad etiquette. And I'm like, I don't care. This is boring. Let's go over there.
Oh man, the best type of player.
I know. I didn't mean it to be rude. I just you don't need to tell me about what their shoes are. My character doesn't look at their shoes.
But what if the shoes are how you tell who the bad guys are?
she was. If you're writing that, it'd be better.
Oof, shots fired.
No,
My,
she's new at being a DM. I'm new at being a player. My wife's new at being a player. It's like we're feeling it out.
man, I've been playing D&D for like, oh Jesus, like more than 12 years.
What would be really fun is a one-player campaign where you DM for me.
Yeah, it can work. Just a lot of thought has to go into it because the game's definitely balanced around like D&D as a whole is balanced around a party of 4 players. So
Hmm.
anytime that you have more or less than that, there's some editing in the background that kind of has to go into it, but it works.
The thing that inspired me was, I think it was Critical Role, but it was a gentleman who invited Stephen Colbert to do a one-person, one-off campaign with
Right.
him, and it was excellent. It was really enjoyable to watch. Stephen Colbert is someone that I really do look up to, both comedically and nerd wise, because he's a super nerd and he's not afraid to show it on his talk show. And just watching him play and be excited to play was like, I want to play too. Like, I want to have that experience.
Right, and that right there is exactly why D&D is so massive right now, because there are these massive online presences that do a really good job of being excited while they play, and which makes you excited to want to try it.
Even people from College Humor have a campaign.
Yeah, like pretty much anybody who has like a major online presence right now has one going.
Yeah, the McElroy brothers as well they have a whole podcast. Game Grumps have done a D&D podcast as well.
Hmm.
It's something that I really want to experience. So I hope Fanatics Media gets a chance to do it too.
Yeah, it'd be fun. We can try and get it figured out.
So besides D&D, are there any other games that you're playing right now?
Yeah, actually, I've got a few things going on right now. So, obviously, big into the Pokemon TCG right now, getting ready for the new set. Whole lot of new changes with Vs and VMAXs coming out, the rules changes, and just all types of stuff going on there. On top of that, I'm pretty active in both nights of the board game club here at the shop on Tuesday and Friday, so I'm playing a whole bunch of new stuff. I actually just played Horrified for the first time yesterday, which if you don't know what Horrified is it's basically I think it's a 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 player game where you're all acting as people trying to hunt down and kill the old oh god, what are those monsters called? Like Frankenstein and
Homunculi?
no, God, my mind's blank. Like Frankenstein and
Golems.
Dracula and the monster from the lagoon
Just classic
and the mummy. Yeah, but they're all like
monsters.
under one. They're under one like media, like movie franchise, and they're called something that I
The
can't
Dark
remember.
series.
Universal? Is it
It
Universal
is
Monsters? Yeah,
Universal's Dark Monsters, yeah.
there we go. So yeah. Anyways, so Horrified is basically players versus all of the Universal monsters, and it's super fun. Very simple too. Like you get a random character at the start of the game. Your character has a number of actions that they can do. You do those actions, then you draw a monster card, and the monsters do a thing. You have to, in each monster, which you fight 2 or more at a time, all have specific ways that they have to be defeated. So, like the mummy, you have to play cards to move this little puzzle around and figure out a puzzle on his sheet before you can kill him. Dracula, you have to go to 4 different parts on the board and smash coffins before you find the right one, and you can then fight him and kill him. And things like that. So it's really neat. Each experience is really different, which I enjoyed. We played it 3 times, and each time was about a 45 minute to an hour play. So I definitely recommend that game. It's super fun.
Nice.
Um, let's see, playing a lot of Gloomhaven still with Kevin, getting our butts kicked over and over again.
Over and over
Playing it in
again.
real life too, where I'm not getting my butt kicked so much, thankfully. Let's see, what else am I playing? I'm not playing, but I have recently found a brand new game thanks to the Facebook algorithm giving me a good ad called Starlight. Have I told you about that game yet?
No, not yet.
So the ad that I got for Starlight was just a picture of this like massive ship raining fire down on the planet below it, and the text was Starlight, a game where Gloomhaven meets X-Wing, and that was it. That was the entire ad, and I was like, okay, click, and
What?
yeah, and so it's literally Gloomhaven sci-fi in space with like X-wing style maneuvering around a board. And instead of a character, you're playing cards for your ship to like attack other ships.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really neat concept. It's in early alpha right now, and there's a Kickstarter going up for it within the next month or two that I'm probably going to be backing because the game looks super interesting. Which is really unfortunate because there's also a Kickstarter for Gloomhaven's sequel, Frosthaven, coming out in the next month or two, which I'm probably going to be backing. So I've never done anything on Kickstarter, and within a month, I'm probably going to drop far too much money on those two games.
That seems cool. I don't have any experience with X-Wing, so I don't know how excited I would be to play Starlight. I mean, earlier in the episode, we said it was like watching paint dry. So,
Right. Well, unfortunately, I was actually going to talk with you because I've got access to the closed alpha for it,
ooh,
and it is 1 to 2 players. So if you wanted to try it out and do something with that, we definitely could.
that have to. Is it online? It's a board game.
Yeah, it's he has the alpha set up on a website called Tabletopia, which is basically like TTS but on a website instead of a program.
I would love to do a series with you on that.
Well, bam, there you go. Be looking out for that.
Yep. So speaking of series that we're doing on Tabletop Simulator, we have the Gloomhaven one that we are setting up. We are not going to start releasing that until we have enough videos in the bank. But right now our bank is filled with one scenario, victory, and then a montage of our failures on the second scenario. And this
Yep.
Sunday, we record on Sundays. I mean, no secrets, no pulled punches. We record on Sundays, and we failed the scenario again. This time, I feel like we did better.
We did good, but there's only so much good that you can do when you draw 3 curses in a row.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't want to go to another crypt. I'm tired of crypts. And we haven't even
So
gotten, like, we
I
haven't
was
even
legit
gotten out.
thinking about texting you earlier and being like, "Hey man, let's just make this difficulty 0 so we can get through it." And it's like this boss is so hard with just 2 players.
I am willing to drop the difficulty down for a scenario that sticks us 3 times. Not 2 times, 3 times.
Okay, so we get one more try, and if we fail again, we just go full hard level 0.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
then, in the series, we can just say, like, we got our butts kicked. We tried 3 times, but we need to make content. Like,
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
yeah. So, to answer my own question of games that I'm playing, in the previous recording of this, I announced that I beat Let's Go Eevee, which is no huge feat. It's pretty much easy mode Fire Red or easy mode Red version. I did enjoy my time with it, and it is something that I'm trying to make a completed Pokedex. And I discussed in the other recording of this podcast that is nigh impossible unless you have $50 and a whole bunch of time on your hand. And I ran into another problem this week. So we recorded last Wednesday. It's this current Wednesday. And within that week span, I pushed to finish the decks. I only have 7 spots missing. Besides Mew and Melmetal, which those are the ones that you need $50 to get because you need a special remote. You need the Pokeball remote control. And Melmetal just requires an enormous amount of time to get and patience in Pokemon Go, the phone app. But there's another problem, and that's when you encounter Mewtwo, which I did. The way that this game works is it's like a raid boss. You have to beat them down. Like Snorlax, you had to do this too. Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. You have to actually battle these legendary special Pokemon and then knock their health to 0 before you're allowed to catch them. So I have the Master Ball. I just don't have a Pokemon that counters Mewtwo right now. And he's level 70.
Oof.
So you actually have to fight Mewtwo, which is not something that I'm accustomed to. I'm not used to fighting this psychic war machine.
Yeah, because in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, don't you just normally there's no like fighting wild Pokemon, you just catch them, right?
There's normal Pokemon, you just throw a ball at them, but these legendary Pokemon, these mythic Pokemon, you have to battle them to zero and then catch them. You actually, which is kind of counterintuitive too, because that was the first problem I ran in with Snorlax. I was like, I'm so used to leaving them in yellow or in red. But I'm like, do I have to kill it? Like, do I have to knock this thing on its butt? Like, I don't get this. But it was the learning curve, and I figured it out. And luckily, there's 2 Snorlaxes in the game. So, and also it's a 5-minute timer too. Like you're in a time attack. Yeah. So what I have to do now to get this Mewtwo is I need to get a Scyther or a Pinsir or Chansey, because they're beefy enough and strong enough to take hits, and they counter him. And because like there's not really a lot of strong psychic counters in Gen 1.
Have you done the 2-player trick?
That's what I have to do. I have to spawn a second player with a Chansey and a Pinsir or something, like a strong bug move, like just a killer X-Scissor. After I grind my Pokemon up, they're like level 50. They were strong enough for the Elite Four. So I have a lot of work to do in Let's Go Eevee. I hopefully on this next podcast I can talk about achieving a completed Pokedex. Like,
And did you finally decide to drop the $50 on that Pokeball extension to get Mew?
I get paid on Friday, so yes, I'm gonna do that.
Man.
On Friday, I'm gonna buy the Pokeball. The other games that I've been playing is I've been toying around trying to find like my next single player game. James told me to play Spider-Man at the end of our last recording, and I just said no.
Of course.
I should. It's halfway beat. I should beat Spider-Man for the PS4. But I messed around with Awakenings again, Fire Emblem Awakenings. And because I have a special route that I want to do, a special marriage I want to get. Have you played Fire Emblem ever?
No, I've never been a Fire Emblem fan, honestly.
Yo, dating sim plus war chess? Heck yes. And then I've also picked up my DS Lite and put in a DS game called Rune Factory, which is made by, I think it's Natsume is how you say it's the company name. It's the same people that make Harvest Moon. It's Harvest Moon, but you go into caves and you defeat monsters, and then you recruit the monsters to like do your bidding on your farm. It's really cool. Also a dating simulator mixed in.
Somebody likes them dating simulators.
I
Have you
do.
ever played oh crap, what's that game? It's on PC. It's basically Harvest Moon.
Oh, Stardew Valley.
There you go. Yeah.
I do plan on playing Stardew Valley, but that's just way down the line. I'd rather play it on Switch too.
Right.
And I'd rather stream it also.
Well, hey, it's multiplayer. You could play it on PC and we could both play.
Yes, I could. I could do that. That seems like, and I could stream it without having the need of a capture card.
That's true.
So that's my game life is Gloomhaven, various dating simulators, and then also Legends of Runeterra, which is like I said, consuming my waking hours. I love this game,
like a
dude.
Pretty active life.
I love this game. Do you want me to like explain it at all, or just move on?
Yeah.
Dude, it's a mix of all the good parts of Hearthstone, all the good parts of that I'm aware of Magic, and all the good parts of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Destiny.
Nice.
I like how this game, like everything, I do one thing, you do one thing. I do one thing, you do one thing. I do one thing, you do one thing.
So that's basically what Destiny started out as. So, and that was kind of the thing that drew a lot of people into the game. So that's kind of neat to hear.
Mm-hmm. And then the Hearthstone element is like, it's a card game based on an IP that only happens in the computer world. Let's say you have 3 mana, and you spend 2 mana and end the round. That extra mana goes into like this overstock area that you can use for just spells. So like then you get 4 mana for the next round, and let's say you have a 5 cost spell in your hand, you can play that now because you have the 4 mana plus the overstock.
Nice. That's actually a really good idea.
Yep. If you have like a dead turn, like your mana curve in your hand isn't correct, you might be able to do this big spike spell because you haven't been able to spend your mana. Like on round 5, you could be playing an 8 cost spell.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's huge. So I've been playing that and enjoying that, and I've been streaming it every time I play it. It's entirely free to play. Riot's like intro video for the open beta, they were saying that they're trying to make it not play to win at all, and I think they're really holding true to that. The only thing that you can spend money on this game is cosmetics. You can spend real dollars to change the mat or to change your little tiny thing on the side of the board, like it's a poro or it's a robot, and you can click on it and it makes a cute sound. Or you can buy reaction emote stickers with real money. It's not like Hearthstone where you buy like random generated packs.
That's good.
The way that you get the packs is by playing the game, gaining experience, cracking open chests that have cards in them, or they have what they call wild cards, and it's a wild card for a rarity. So then you can go into the catalog and be like, I have a rare wild card, and redeem it for any rare card in the catalog.
That's how Magic Arena does it, I believe.
Yeah, dude, this thing is really smooth. This is tight. The only problem is I encountered a visual glitch that I need to tell Riot about, where you cast a spell that duplicates a monster, or they're called followers, where you duplicate a follower, and that follower generates cards in your hand whenever he's summoned. So it summons 2 copies of him, and then generates 2 copies of that card in your hand, and then it breaks the animation, which and you just have these giant pink loopy lines on your screen and you can't see anything. It's pretty horrendous, but it's beta. So in this next segment, my wife is going to be on, and she's going to be talking about stuff that happened in The Mandalorian, in episode 2 of The Mandalorian. It was initially set up for Star Wars Destiny Isn't Dead podcast, but as soon as we finished recording this, FFG released that they're not making any more Star Wars Destiny. So I just have this file of me and my wife talking about dead characters in The Mandalorian just out in space, and I do really want to release it, so I was going to put it right here. You prepared something based on dead guys, right?
Right, based on the state of the game, everyone's proclaiming that dead in the water. However, what's more interesting than a dead game? Interesting dead Star Wars people, and I want to talk about them.
Okay, so which Star Wars characters do you have prepared for us that are dead?
So let's narrow this down. Mild spoilers ahead for those who have not watched The Mandalorian.
Don't go past this wall. Poo 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 if you haven't finished The Mandalorian.
Okay, so what sets the event...
You didn't give them enough time.
In motion.
Give them some more time.
Anyway.
If they want to leave.
I think they did already.
Okay.
Pressing on. So the interesting dead people in The Mandalorian, it can be like a high tally count, but I want to go back to specifically the people guarding who I will call the asset baby instead of BY, which is all over social media and I think is really incorrect and disrespectful to Master Yoda. But we'll call him Asset Baby. He's green, he's got a cute face and pointy ears. You know who I'm talking about if you watch the show.
Or been on the internet at all.
The Mandalorian lays waste to this hideout and all of the people who I assume were involved with guarding the baby asset.
This is episode 2, correct?
Was it? I believe so. It was very early on in the show. So these people are very interesting. But we sort of just forget they exist. Now, what we see through the rest of season 1 is that no one is really aware of what the Force is currently. Like, not even Cara Dune, who was a trooper for the Rebel Alliance.
Like she could have known Luke, maybe,
but even
Luke was
she
busy in the Death Star.
Mandalorians are very wrapped up in their own business and community, and then you have these bounty hunters, a lot of faithless people who just were ignorant and didn't know. So it could be argued that the guards guarding Baby Asset had some awareness of why he was so important. So unfortunately, the Mandalorian killed a group who could have given him some answers.
I think the blood is really on IG-11's hands.
Okay, well, you can hand some of the credit to IG's pretty great, but let's not overlook the Mandalorian's contribution. I will not be using his given name in this segment because I just don't want to.
Like Din.
No, I just don't want to give it away, but you did, thanks for that.
Well, we put the spoiler wall in front. Didn't.
All right, well, I suppose that's quicker to say. So this group is very likely, or was very likely, to understand in a basic sense what Force users were, why it could be valuable to the remnants of the Empire, and they're dead, so they're interesting. But what they represent is also very interesting because Din, he hasn't a clue what the Force is. He's just seen it in action. His friends are just as mystified. So with that said, these people guarding Baby Asset, who put them up to it? This is an important question in the show, is it not? I'm thinking maybe they were involved by more pro-rebel groups or subgroups or people. I'm not saying they knew Luke Skywalker, but, you know.
Yeah, there could be some Jedi mingling.
Very unlikely it was Luke at this point, because that could imply that later this poor Asset baby ended up at the Padawan group, that temple he later founded and then his nephew so kindly destroyed and laid waste to other students. But I don't think that happened, so I'm pretty sure he's unaware.
So you're saying that the Mando...
Unless the Knights of Ren had like a really tiny baby amongst...
No, there was no baby. No, baby
He's going to be sticking with the Mandalorian.
Does not go to the training montage with Luke Skywalker and Ben Solo. Doesn't go to that temple.
Correct. So Asset Baby was being guarded by either some really nice people or people who had an awareness of the Force,
because they were
or
Imperial.
some rebellion affiliation, I think.
Yeah, because if they were Imperial, then it would have been the client would have just been like, "Hey, give me those."
Right. You don't mail a package to yourself. That's just a waste of postage.
You also don't hire a bounty hunter to go pick up your mail.
Absolutely not. So that in and of itself is that the client being a former Imperial officer trying to retrieve this asset could mean that it was an enemy's asset. Okay. Possibly, maybe. I'm just thinking about the story.
Cool. No, I like that. And I'm pretty sure that as the Mandalorian is sailing off on his Razor Quest... No, dang it.
Razor Crest?
Sailing off on his Razor Crest. Sailing off on his Razor Quest. Oh. I can't say it. So as the Mandalorian was just sailing off, he's probably thinking, boy, howdy, I wish I could talk to those people.
Right, yeah, I thought he probably thought that at least once in the 8 episodes we've seen. It's like, gosh, I've got questions. and there's no search engine for this. This is just... It is what it is now.
I really do want to find out, like, why was that baby in that holdout with those people?
Right.
Were they like
interesting?
Like, were they just partisans, or were they, or you know, like, what were they? We don't know,
but we'll probably find out if we keep watching the show.
I hope we do. So, thanks for chatting with me, Taryn.
No problem.
That was fun.
I've got plenty of rants.
Thank you so much for listening. Where can you find Fanatics?
A whole bunch of places. You can find our store website at dothanfanatics.com. You can find our TCG Player account up on fanatics.tcgplayerpro.com. That one's a mouthful. That website is only good if you're local, though, because we don't ship out yet. It's only set up for in-store pickup. You've got us on Instagram and Facebook and everything else at either Fanatics or at Dothan Fanatics. And then, of course, here at Jackalmen Games and doing everything that we do here.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for, if you go to Fanatics, thank you for supporting the store. Supporting your local game store is something that any nerd can do because it's initially free, but then you'll end up sucking your money down the drain into paints or board games or card games.
The first taste is free, and then we hook you.